Here we go. I always wanted to say that. Yes, sir. Perfect. I'm right there. Perfect. I'm right there. I'm gonna mute myself because there's this how do you say that? Like it comes back from
Perfect.
the
I'm right.
It's a lag
It's an echo.
or echo. Yeah.
Peter, you have to smile at least once today, man. Like, oh.
Another couple times already.
Okay, I took the sound off the YouTube. There was so much echo, like I could hear you guys for like 3 or 4 times. We are about a minute. There's a minute lagging.
Okay. Well, I saw 7 o'clock. I say we go ahead and get started with the meeting. I'd like to thank everyone who's joining remotely via YouTube or otherwise. 7 o'clock. I say we go ahead and get started with the meeting. I'd like to thank everyone who's joining remotely via YouTube. So it does sound like there's still a lag. If somebody has YouTube pulled up, if you can mute it, that's a speaker. But we'll go ahead and get started for our agenda today. We're going to forego the Pledge of Allegiance and opening remarks. And we'll go ahead and start with a motion, or start with a roll call actually to see who's here. So just for the commissioners that are present, if when I say your name, if you wouldn't mind saying here, Commissioner Phillips.
Here. Sorry, it took me a minute to get off mute.
No, you're good. Commissioner Still.
Here.
Commissioner Coombs.
Here.
Commissioner Butler.
Here.
Commissioner Clyde.
Here.
And then Commissioner Blake. She's here. Commissioner Blake is present. I don't know if she's able to hear us right now, but good deal. Well, let's move forward with I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, the vote's unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's staff reports.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Good. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Phillips to approve tonight's staff reports and a second by Commissioner Still. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Awesome. All right, are there any declarations of conflicts or abstentions from commission members tonight?
No.
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 Good deal. There being no declaration of conflicts, we'll go ahead and move into our agenda, into item number 1, which is a public hearing to consider the request of Steve Baumgartner for a 2-lot preliminary subdivision plat called MOG Subdivision Plat A on property located at approximately 817 West, 1100 North in the R18 single family residential zone. And Riley, I believe you're presenting on this one, so if you wouldn't mind. Yes.
Riley, can you stop for 1 second, please? Let's just stop for 1 second. I'm getting some comments from our YouTube from the people on YouTube that they cannot hear you. So let me just test that for everybody. Just give me
Okay.
1 second. Sorry about that.
Is it any better when I'm talking into the mic, or do you know yet?
Let's ask.
Okay.
Oh, they say they can hear me just fine. They just cannot hear you. So yeah, get a little closer to the microphone or closer to the
Okay.
computer.
Okay.
And yeah, you just get closer to the computer and speak louder. Everyone, let's make that effort so people can hear you. It looks like they can hear you. Get closer to the microphone now. So sorry about the interruption. Let's go ahead.
No, it's okay. Do I need to start over?
That would be great, please.
Okay. All right. Item 1 is a request for the approval of a 2-lot preliminary subdivision called MOG Subdivision Plat A on property located at 817 West, 1100 North in the R18 single family residential zone. Here's a zoning map, and here's the aerial image. And here's the proposed plat. Neither of the proposed lots have ever been part of a previously recorded subdivision. There is an existing home and 4 accessory structures on Lot 1 that will remain upon the approval of the plat. Street improvements will be required upon future development of this property. The total area of the subject property is 0.973 acres and consists of 2 single residential lots. The proposed subdivision meets the minimum requirements for residential lots in the R18 single-family residential zone, which is a minimum area of 8,000 square feet, minimum frontage of 35 feet, and a minimum width of 85 feet. Frontage for this subdivision is provided by public roads 1100 North and 1000 North. The proposed plat meets all zoning requirements for subdivisions and for the R18 single-family residential zone, so staff recommends approval. There is
Great,
one
thank you.
conditions that we have. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Please
Yeah.
explain the conditions.
Yeah, the one condition that we have is that street improvements will be required upon further development of the property, and then the condition that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
Okay, sounds good. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Riley?
Riley, just want clarification on the lot 2. I assume that the access to that lot will be from the south on 1000 North. I just want to clarify that.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Let's do something because it's kind of difficult to track it down. So before we make a comment, I'm gonna start and say, hey, this is Director Cardenas, and then say a comment on it. Just for this type of session. We don't have to do that every single time, but just right now. Okay.
Sounds good. That was a comment by Commissioner Butler, for the record. Do any other commissioners have any other questions for Riley or for staff? If no, I believe that the applicant has joined as well. And Mr. Baumgartner, you're more than welcome to make a comment if you'd like to, or if not, we can proceed. Okay, so
that.
yeah, so Steve's microphone is not working. Steve, do you want to make any comments? You can chat them in, or we can proceed if there's anything that you feel needs to be discussed. Perfect. All right. Steve does not have any comments at this time. This is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing now. Anybody that would like to ask questions or make comments on this item, you can do so via YouTube, via the chat function, and we'll have someone from staff read those comments or questions as they come in. So we'll give it just a minute here to have those comments roll in, or see if anybody has any questions.
And just for the record, because of the lagging, let's go 5 minutes. Let's wait for comments, okay?
Okay.
Daniel, it looks like we have our first public comment in the YouTube window.
So there's a couple comments, Chair. I'm gonna read them out loud for the commissioners to listen to them. Can you hear me well? This is Director Cardenas. Have a comment from Corey Chapman. He says, "Hi, I live to the east of the land. How will this affect us? When will constructions begin? Anything I should be aware of?" I think this is there's 3 questions, and let's go with the first one. How will this affect us? Does anyone wants to answer to that question?
This is Commissioner Steele. I'll take a stab at that. What this would allow is for a house to be built on lot 2, essentially. This isn't approving the construction of the house yet, just splitting the lot, but it would make it so in the future they could build a house there that conforms to all the other requirements of the zone.
Any other comments from the commissioners? You kind of got cut off a little bit, Commissioner Peters, so I don't know if anyone wants to reiterate or repeat what Commissioner Peters said.
Yeah, I can do that. He just said that what this is allowing the property owner to do is to build a house on lot 2 at some point in the future. Right now, where this is just an approval of a plat, we won't actually be approving a site plan or construction. And as far as we know, we don't know when that'll start. But for now, the way it's going to impact you is it gives somebody the ability to build on that lot in the future.
Correct. It looks like the person who made Corey Chapman, who made the comments, he says thanks.
Great.
We're gonna keep allowing a couple more minutes just for any other questions. Let's just give 3 minutes. We'll close it at 7:15.
It's the years, that's for sure.
I think that's kind of like hold music for us to keep us engaged.
Chair, I have another comment from Corey Chapman. This is Daniel, Director Cardenas. I'm going to read it out loud. He says, is that a map available for me to download somewhere? Does anyone want to answer to that question, Riley?
Right now, he can come see a copy at our office until it is recorded. Once it's recorded, it will be on the Utah County parcel map.
Sounds good. All right, Riley and Daniel, can you guys confirm there's no other comments to consider for this hearing?
Yes, sure. So the last comment was that is the map available for me to download somewhere. Again, as Riley mentioned it, you can send us an email and we can email it to you. Or once it's recorded, you can get it. It's fully recorded. You can get it from the county recording office. It looks like that's the last comment we have, Chair.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing for this item and bring it back to the commission for discussion, or I'll entertain a motion if there are no further comments or questions.
Chair, may I just clarify something real quick?
Please.
This is Sean, I'm the Assistant City Engineer. Street improvements are being required with this plat, so all street improvements will be completed with this plat.
So just clarify, you're talking about on 1100 North and 1000 North?
Correct.
Is that something the applicant's aware of?
Yes. Yeah, there's an improvement plan. The plan that's being shown on the screen right now is the improvement plan that shows all of those improvements being completed.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see, are there any other comments or questions from the commission before we entertain a motion?
This is Commissioner Coombs, and I'm ready to make a motion.
Sounds good.
I
Hold
move the
on.
planning
Hold
commission.
on. Sorry,
Okay.
I just have a couple questions. The sheds, what others qualified those as sheds, those additional buildings on there in lot 1?
What was your question about them?
The sheds, so there's 2 sheds specifically. What are they considered sheds? That they can be moved? Are they on footings and foundations? What are the sheds, the additional buildings there on lot 1?
Oh, I'm not sure whether they're temporary or permanent. This one that's here closest to the property line does meet setback requirements. And we're not requiring the other ones to be demolished or removed when the plat's
The other
approved.
2 on the west, the 2 on the west?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
That's okay. Are we ready?
Just by looking at the plan, it says the one shed will be moved and one will remain. And those are the comments made on the plan. You guys can see that right there. We will make sure that when we by the creation of this plan that they comply. We'll make sure that we're not doing any non-conforming structures.
All of them, from what I'm reading, says that they will all sheds to remain, existing shed to remain, existing shed. All 4 of them say they will remain.
Right. Sorry about that. I couldn't zoom in. So as you can see, those sheds that are on that's going to be the west side.
Yeah, next to Ian Dawes' house or property.
They're not affected by getting a new plat. The one that will be affected will be the one on the south, since now they'll create a new property line. So we'll make sure that one complies with the code, and it looks like it does, Riley.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it does.
All right.
Right, you want me to try one more time?
It's fine. Yes.
All right. I move the planning commission forward a recommendation of approval for the request of Steve Baumgartner for the preliminary plat called Mog Subdivision Plat A on property located at approximately 817 West, 1100 North in the R18 Single Family Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, and as modified by the conditions below, that all street improvements will be required upon further development of the property, and that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
Second.
Lisa, I think this is Commissioner Steele. You need to change the condition about further development of the property to upon, I don't know what the terminology is, but filing of the plat, right? That's what Sean made.
I didn't understand everything he said. What do I need to change?
Condition 1 says on further development of the property, but I think Sean was saying that they'll require those when they file the plat on further development. So
Okay, so if I say street improvements will be required upon filing of the plat?
Yeah, you could say that. I don't even know if it needs to be a condition, to be honest.
It's already part of the code. It was just more that, yeah, if you say it like that, it's before the issuing of a building permit, that will be okay.
Okay, so street improvements will be required upon issuing, I'm sorry, Daniel, issuing of the plat?
Of the building permit?
Oh, before issuing of the building permit. Is that better?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Steele. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I am really sorry, but I probably should have said this before. It needs to be upon recording of the plat. It can't be upon issuing of the building permit. It needs to be with the recording of the plat.
Okay, so I'm going to change that. Number 1 is that the street improvements will be required upon recording of the plat.
And
Correct, Sean?
that's what our code says right now. So I don't think it needs to be a condition unless we want to clarify that, I guess. And maybe we should clarify it at this point. But yes, upon recording of the plat, those street improvements.
Done.
And then again,
Okay. Commissioner Coombs, why don't we have you start over, make the motion again with that, and the condition being that it's upon approval of the, or upon the recording of the plat, that street improvements need to be made.
Upon recording of the plat. You bet. Hold on.
Well, to clarify, if is it upon recording of the plat or is it prior to recording the plat?
Street improvements need to be completed or a bond in place before the plat can be recorded.
So
Prior.
since it is part of our code, do I need to say it at all, or do we need to clarify it?
I don't think so.
So you don't have to say it. Just read the part that says that all final engineering and planning they need to be complied with, and that's it.
Okay. I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval for the request of Steve Baumgartner for the preliminary plat called Mog Subdivision Plat A on property located at approximately 817 West, 1100 North in the R18 Single Family Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, and that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second that. Yeah.
Okay, so once again, we have a motion by Commissioner Coombs to approve item number 1 and a second by Commissioner Still, who I heard first. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Perfect. The motion carries. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 2 on the agenda this evening, which is a public hearing to consider the request of Joshua D. Redding for a 16-lot preliminary subdivision plat called Creekside at Aspen Grove Plat C on property located at approximately 463 West, 3300 North in the RRPD Rural Residential Zone. And Riley, I believe you're presenting on this one as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, thank you. The applicant is requesting approval of a 16-lot subdivision called Creekside at Aspen Grove Plat C. Here's a zoning map. And here's an aerial. The plat is an amendment of Creekside at Aspen Grove Plat A, shown here, by redrawing the boundaries of the western portions of lots 41 through 53. That's all these western lots except for lot 42 right here. And then Plat C will also include lots 42 here, lots 54 and 55 here at the bottom, and lot 56. Each of these lots have been part of a previously existing subdivision, Creekside at Aspen Grove Plat A, except for proposed lot 56 up here, which has never been part of a previously recorded subdivision. Each of these lots, except for lot 49, which is this one right here, has an existing home that will remain upon approval of the plat. Street improvements are existing and will not be required upon future development of this property. The 12 westernmost lots, this is lots 41 through 53 here, but not including lot 42, have a property line that divide each of these lots, and that's shown here on the existing plat, this property line that runs through each of these lots. These property lines were approved and recorded with this original plat, Creekside at Aspen Grove Plat A, and it runs along a ditch through each of these properties. Recently, property owners of these lots have come to the city seeking building permits for structures, pools, etc. that would cross or encroach upon setbacks of this property line. The intent of this plat is to combine each of these divided lots so that each property line is contiguous. And that's shown here on this slide. Each of these lots will have contiguous boundaries. The proposed plat with the adjusted property lines will need to be approved and recorded before building permits can be obtained. The preliminary plat was incorrectly noticed as a 33-lot subdivision. The entire proposed subdivision is only 16 lots, including one added lot, Lot 56, shown here, that has not previously been part of a subdivision. The property line changes to these western lots, lots 41 through 53, are the most significant changes to any lots in the proposed subdivision. There are some conditions for approval that I will let Sean explain to you guys, but staff recommends approval.
Sounds good. Sean, do you want to explain those conditions?
Yes, sorry, had to find my unmute button. Let me get that pulled up. Sorry.
Should I pull it up? Yeah, okay, I can pull it up.
Sorry, my computer's running a little slow, but I will get it pulled up here shortly. So there are 5 conditions. The first condition is that negotiations and agreements are made for the vacating and selling of city surplus property. There's a small portion of the city park that's there, the pond area that we are selling to 2 of the landowners there. In total, it equals about 580 square feet. It is a really small portion. Anyway, we're still working through those negotiations and finalizing that agreement, and the city will need to surplus that property in order for this plat to be recorded. Condition modifications are the second condition is modifications are agreed upon the ditch running through the subject lots. And the third condition kind of goes along with that. Wording and requirements be agreed upon in regards to fencing in relation to the ditch. Along the western boundary of these lots, there's a ditch coming out of the pond. It acts as an irrigation ditch for Pleasant Grove Irrigation Company and a storm drain line, if you will, for Pleasant Grove City. And so we have proposed language on the plat that we're going back and forth with the landowners to come to an agreement on for that easement. That's a 35 or a 30-foot easement through that area in favor of Pleasant Grove Irrigation Company and Pleasant Grove City. And then in that language, it pertains to the fencing that would be allowed by those landowners on their western boundary in regards in relation to that ditch that's there. And I guess that really goes with number 4 as well, that an agreement with Pleasant Grove Irrigation Company is reached for the ditch requirements. All that is kind of relating to the easement language that we're working through right now.
All right, thank you. So on those conditions where we talk about an agreement with the irrigation company, does it need to be with the irrigation company and the city separately? So there would be 3 parties to those agreements, or is it just the irrigation company?
It's both, but once we come to an agreement on the irrigation company has been part of this discussion back and forth. We're in discussion with the board of the irrigation company. And so once a final agreement is come to with the easement language that's being shown on the plat, it'll suffice really conditions 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Are there any other questions for staff?
Can I just ask, so the main purpose of this is to allow these property owners to be able to build accessory structures more easily on their property, or what's the main purpose for the redrawing?
That and to clean up the existing property lines of those lots that have the line running through the middle of the property.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, this plat was actually approved 4 years ago, I believe, maybe 5 years ago, and just never got recorded. There was actually an illegal subdivision of properties that is being cleared up with this plat, and that's really the I guess the driving force with these building permits coming in is what is driving them to complete this plat recording that was really approved 4 or 5 years ago.
The original one on that subdivision was a mess. It had 2 different things in it, and there was major property line issues in that whole subdivision for years.
So Sean, just want clarification. I'm looking at the map. What parts of the park are going to be abdicated? Is it the north part of the park or the south end of the park that Pleasant Grove is going to sell off?
If you have that map open, it is the south part of the plat. It's a small little triangle piece that's going to be sold to lots 45 and 46.
Let's make sure we use Riley just share the screen for everybody to see. So can you please point it out so people who are watching us and also the commissioners can follow through?
This is lot 45 and 46 right here.
I'm not sure if I can get control of it, but it is the small little
So right here.
jog, that property line in the middle of 45. It's a small triangle piece that's 500-ish square feet.
Pretty small.
I just tried to draw a circle around it. Is that what we're talking about right there? Do you see the circle?
Yeah. It's a bit smaller than your circle, but that you do encompass that triangle piece with your circle, yes.
How about that?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Is the applicant joined, or is the applicant able to speak on this or want to? As far as I can tell, he hasn't joined the meeting.
He hasn't joined the meeting, but he has been one of the ones leaving comments on the YouTube.
Do we want to go ahead and read those comments now from the applicant, Daniel, and we can address those?
He just says, I am here, yeah. So, I mean, this is a time when you guys have questions for the applicant, and you guys can ask the questions, then we'll allow some time for the applicant to type the answer to those questions. So yes, the applicant is right there. His name is Josh Redding, and he's ready for you guys to answer any questions you guys have or concerns.
The 5 conditions, this is Commissioner Clyde, are awfully vague right now. Um, is this premature? Because those conditions have not been finalized? I guess that's to you, Sean.
What do you mean premature? Is this
Like,
premature or what?
well, you're talking about continuing negotiation and stuff like that. Like two condition modifications are agreed upon the ditch running through the city lot through the subject's lots. Can you give me more clarification what does it mean?
Yeah, it's all pertaining to the 30-foot easement through there. The ditch has been running through there
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily getting approval, but just coming to an agreement on that 30-foot easement and the language that's actually going to be used in that easement that's going to be shown on the plat.
And is it a matter of being able to also move the fence away from the easement or the property line that it has now and moving it further west?
To some regard, in the sense that the fence can't be within 5 feet of the ditch bank at any point along the ditch. It cannot be within 5 feet of the ditch bank itself.
Okay.
So that's still the language
I have a question.
with them, but we feel like we're close enough to where we can at least move it through planning commission, and it is going to city council to get final approval. And so we certainly anticipate to have it all finalized by the time city council gives it their final approval.
I have a question. My sound's been breaking up a bit, so I apologize if this has already been asked, but who is the applicant? Is it a property owner within this subdivision? Like, who's going to be responsible for these conditions being met? I mean, how are we going to enforce this?
We have been working with Josh Redding and Corey Atkinson. They're the two property owners who currently have building permits in with the city right now. They're the owners of lot 45 and 46, the two lots that are also purchasing that land from the city. And so they have been the two residents in this neighborhood that have kind of been the driving force behind this.
Okay, so they are property owners.
Yep.
And will all of the conditions that are being proposed be things that they could do, like that are doable based on their ownership of the property, or?
Absolutely.
Daniel?
There, I just got another comment from Josh Reddy, who's the applicant, and he says the verbiage on the plat has been agreed upon by all parties. So it looks like he has, so I mean, all the parties involved, they have agreed on that verbiage, on the language of it.
On the language of the plat, or the language of these agreements that we're making, or that are in the conditions?
That's a good question. Let's see if he answers. Just allow for some time.
It is the language of the easements. They have been in correspondence with us this week. I think as recently as yesterday. I'm getting that finalized.
Okay.
I'm typing to them to see what, so they have comment and they say the easement, yes, as Sean says. So it looks like they also agree on the conditions as well, on the easements.
Okay, so to go back to Commissioner Clyde's question of whether or not this is premature for right now. I mean, if we're that close, I don't know if it is. Does that put your mind at ease at all there, Commissioner Clyde?
Yeah. The only other question I have is, Sean, how do you access that easement?
It's a great question. That's why we're requiring it to be 30 feet. And then we would need to ideally never have to access it, but
right.
maybe some way we'd have to get through one of the side yards or maybe the vacant lot that's currently there. Or anyway, it would be maybe through the property, the pond property, as that easement is granted all the way through there. Anyway, I don't know. That's a good question.
I've just been in a lot of those backyards. They're tight. They're tight width wise. Mm-hmm. They're pretty. They're definitely pretty with the trees back there.
Yep.
Okay. To answer your question, Todd, I would say yes and no.
Which is a great answer. Okay, sounds good. Well, again, if the applicant doesn't have anything else to add, I'll give him a minute to type, and then we'll go ahead and open up a public hearing. All right. Daniel, if you can just confirm that he hasn't typed anything or any other questions.
Yeah, no, he hasn't mentioned. What he says is, okay. So I ask him. I say the commissioners are asking the applicant if they all agree with the conditions mentioned by the city engineer, by Sean, and he just answered. And he says nothing to add. Sean covered it well.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. We'll wait 5 minutes, or by my clock, that puts it at 7:48. If no comments come in, we'll move to that. But we'll go ahead and leave a time here for the public to comment via the chat function within YouTube. And Director Cardenas, if you'd let us know if any comments come in.
Sean, while we're waiting, I have a question for you. Who's going to be responsible for maintaining the ditch?
The property owners.
Is that based off a standard by the Closing of Water?
I don't know if there's necessarily a standard per se, but we'll be. It's such a frequently used ditch that it'll be easily recognized if it's not working properly.
There's just a lot of trees and debris that can get in back there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I wondered how you're going to access it.
Yep. So it's a good question. That easement does go, I guess, all the way to the north there. If you see on the map that's currently being shown, it does extend.
Yes, to the road.
All the way to the road. So I would imagine that that's probably would be the easiest way that we would be able to access it.
Then I guess with a big enough truck, the fences don't matter there. So
Can't get a truck down through that one.
That's why it's a big truck.
Coming through the YouTube comments, and it says, FYI, for your information, all 12 property owners have agreed to maintain the ditch and have been doing so regularly for many years. I'm reading the comment from.
It's good to know.
Okay.
I mean, we can go ahead and leave the public hearing open, but if there are other comments rather than just sitting in silence, please go ahead, or questions for staff. I think we can ask those at this point.
I'll make a comment. I'll say that this project was done as a planned unit development. It was a PD, plan development. And there's an HOA too. There's some CCNRs. I'm pretty sure all of those type of situations who will do what are incorporated into the rules that regulate the HOA, which are the CCNRs. So this is the zone for this actually doesn't exist anymore. We don't allow PUDs in the city anymore. This was one of the last PUDs that we did in the city. So there is an HOA and there is some governing rules, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the who takes care of what is detail on those CCNRs.
Sounds good. All right, well, I have 7:48. Director Cardenas, can you confirm that no other comments have come in from the public?
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that no more comments have shown up on the screen.
Great. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back up to the commission for discussion, where I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Please.
I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval for the request of Joshua D. Redding for the preliminary plat called Creekside and Aspen Grove Plat C on property located at approximately 463 West, 3300 North in the RRPD Rural Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report with the conditions: 1, negotiations and agreements are made for the vacating and selling of city surplus property. 2, condition modifications are agreed upon for the ditch running through the subject lots. 3, wording and requirements have been agreed upon in regards to fencing in relation to the ditch. 4, an agreement with PG Irrigation Company is reached for ditch requirements. And 5, that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second. That was Commissioner Coombs.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Still and a second by Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, the motion carries unanimously. We'll go ahead and move on to the approval of minutes. So pull the agenda back up, but the approval of minutes from the meeting held March 12th, 2020. I'll go ahead and entertain a discussion, or we can have a discussion, or I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Thanks.
Second.
Perfect. All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Phillips and a second by Commissioner Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. All right. The motion carries, and entertain a motion to adjourn unless we have anything else.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Good, Bill. I'll second
Look at
that.
that.
And we all vote aye. Just kidding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. All right. Well, thank